Yay, we're live.
So I had the veggie because I didn't trust it. Although the steak and arugula sounded good. Okay, so this is I guess what I'd call a CT extension activity. Last year at our program where we did the feeding and healing units, or we did a year long of this about every week, really twice a week. And I say we, but mostly Arne. But what we found was one, or at least what I found was one that I kind of want any CT integration I do to slip right into Stellar Girls stuff. So on the first page of this, I do not recall what the whole overall lesson is. These starred objectives are my computational thinking sort of objectives. Sometimes I've added a couple of explain questions or added a little bit to the explore section to have them do maybe something a little computational thinking-y. But in this case, we also found that having an extension activity sometimes that kind of kept going with it to like a separate activity is really useful. This one happens to use the computer. Many of them don't. And sometimes we even go further to sort of an application thing where maybe they do use a computer. But my favorite lessons are usually the offline activities. But in this one, so I didn't see the PowerPoint, so it's going to get a lot simpler. I'm just going to update it tonight and throw it back into the, if I can print, I'll print a new one. Because originally I thought you could separately, I don't know why, I guess I just didn't read it and see the PowerPoint or what have you, or do the due diligence of looking up the batteries. But I thought you could vary both the number of nickels and number of pennies, which would require doing a multiple regression in Excel. And I still think I could have gotten our elementary girls there. But you don't have to do that. Really, you can just put in a trend line and have them do a much simpler linear regression. So a linear regression is, the idea of it isn't as complicated as it sounds. I don't think our elementary girls will be all over it and be doing them by themselves and happy to go with it. But one of the changes I made was, instead of measuring the voltage for just yours, collecting a couple other people's voltages as well, and combining them and averaging the points. So on average, our three groups got, when we had two pairs, we got this, and then plugging them into a pre-made Excel file. So maybe just has the table in there, just putting in their values after, and running a regression on it. So finding a best fit line, that's all it is. And I think I can also set it up, now that it doesn't have to be a three-dimensional line, I'm pretty sure I can set it up to automatically generate a trend line, but it's really just right-clicking. So I'll update the screenshots, obviously. I think I'll probably keep in the line estimator bit, because it's not as complicated as it looks, and the kids will think it's kind of cool, because it's what less than 5% of people that work in offices can do with Excel, or it's more than what 95% of people can do with Excel that use it. There we go. And I'm not saying anything about anybody in here, obviously it's other people. But having them see the trend line and see from your data, you made an equation that, from your data, you made an equation that will give you the answer for as many pairs of coins as you want. Now, it's not totally accurate, but I also have it set up so that if you put in however many pennies and nickels you want, it just spits out the answer for you. I can show it in a y equals mx plus b format. None of that's totally difficult. Like I said, in the CT integration folder in that 2019-2020 Stellar Girls Google Drive folder, I put in a CT integration one, and I'll have the Excel file already in there. Because all of this is new curriculum and we're not implementing, or we're not currently implementing, some of those little extra documents just have fallen by the wayside, or I haven't been able to completely finish. This one I actually did, but of course I have to change it. But I'll put that up, and maybe with 5 minutes in the morning, we can kind of see what that activity looks like. Maybe a little bit longer. Would anyone be interested in Matt's 10-minute Excel rundown? So no, perfect. Or too tired to lift the hand. I understand. But Excel really is a really powerful tool, and maybe I will do a short thing about that if we have time, and just kind of point out how to use Excel effectively to foster good computational thinking learning. Yeah. But then after that, and this part won't change, is having them design a simulation. So we've seen FET in here already. That's the, like the static electricity bit. Taking the next step to, what would yours look like? Kind of draw it out a little bit. Where would you use that equation that we made? Your data, we came up with a calculator with this linear estimator. So where would you use that in here to help people learn? That sort of designing, I think, can happen a lot faster than actually making it. And so, that's a good step. If there are things that you want, like you wish, I really wish we had time to, have them program this or learn this coding, it's totally cool to have them design it and not actually implement it. You can design a simulation in 30 minutes, and you can make one in maybe a week. So, there's a lot of benefit to even just doing the design part and talking about, where's this math that you learned? We learned about maybe this equation. Where does that play a role in here? All of that's great computational thinking skills and part of the MSP ones, the modeling and simulation process. And that is my brief talking at you about computational thinking for the moment. Okay. So I'll update this so that it's usable for what we do, and then we can chat about it in the morning. Sorry, I didn't pass it off to anybody or check with anybody.
No, that's okay.
I just sat down and.
All right, so we are going to be working on paper circuits, so you might want to find actually, nobody has that. So you guys are going to need to come, we're going to need to make sure everybody has one. So if you guys want to come and pick one of these up, and actually while you're doing that, you can pick up one of these out of the bag and one. If you guys want to do that, just pick up one of these, one of each of these. Put them up here in the front. I gotta get out of this thing now again.
Yeah,
Right here. I'm at it. Look at
I go to the one with the blue. Row. Yeah, no, first row, second row. Second row. Second row. Yeah. Welcome. Exactly.
Battery and. This one. Yeah. One battery. All right.
Wait.
So you're doing paper circuits now? Paper circuits right now.
Hold on a second. I'm sorry.